all the things. Hey everyone, welcome to our book club. On Saturday mornings, we are doing Successful Women Think Differently, and we are actually on habit 5. Habit 5? Hold on.
Yes.
The numbers screw me up. Chapter 6.
Habit 5. There's no chapters. Habit 5.
Well, if you're listening on Audible, there are chapters. So chapter
Sessions. Yes, you're right.
Chapter 6. I don't have to be right, but I just have to ask myself the question every time I go to listen to it. I'm like, no. We're on chapter 6, habit 5. It's fine. We're doing great. Okay. Cultivate positive emotion. We're all already laughing this morning. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I love book study so much, is that we come into this space of learning, and it is a positive emotion space. We laugh. We make fun of, we poke fun at our own things, like Sherry and Amy just were about their own workspaces. I'm sure we all could learn a few things from taking a look at each other's workspaces. That is actually on my list of things to tweak. I feel like we need a little more than a tweak here. Although I will say that in my immediate line of vision, I only have 5 post-it notes. But if I look around, there's more. Sherry and Amy are also post-it note queens, so I appreciate that very much. Anyhow, cultivate positive emotion is where we're starting this morning. How a surprising but easy formula will save your relationships and transform your life. The key lessons here for this chapter are: happiness leads to success, not the other way around. Build an emotional bank account of positive experiences, and don't make the big decisions when you're in an emotional rut. That one I can't wait to dive into. But you know where my brain went when I was listening to this was back to the other book. She had been talking a little bit about like she touches in here really quickly about how money doesn't make you happy. But do you guys remember the stats that she shared from the other book about how it's actually not true, because once you make a certain amount, the happiness doesn't increase like anything over that amount. Do you guys remember that? There was a statistic in there, and it was like 75,000 or something like that a year, or I can't remember what it was, but there was actually data that suggested that yes, making more money, as long as you can, when you cover your bills and your life expenses, and it's no longer a stressor to make ends meet, that's when, oh, hi. God bless this child who chooses to fill up my active cup. That makes me happy. That's positive emotion. Thank you.
Yes.
Sure, thanks. But after a certain amount of money that a person makes in a year, it really doesn't change their happiness. Now, we'll say, as we're watching our friends go to Punta Cana, we're going, well, I feel as though a trip might make me happier right now. And so if I had an extra insert amount here, perhaps. Yes, Amy.
That's really quite funny that your comment about a trip would make me happier right now. Because in our house this week, we actually talked about going away this weekend as a family kind of a thing. And with the week we've had, I'm like, but like 5 out of 6 people in our house just want to sleep. They literally just want to sleep in. They want to, like, nothing. If they want to watch TV, that, like, no thought, just nothing. To the point that I was like, and why would I drive, pack, pay for a hotel room and food if everybody just wants to sleep? Let's just let everybody sleep. We'll be home. It'll be boring. Everybody will sleep.
And it'll be great.
And maybe next week we think of something to do for a day. Or next weekend. Go.
She's speaking to my homebody heart. Do you hear that? She's just
like... And yes, like going to Punta Cana, that's quite different. But I'm sure not going to sleep in Punta Cana. I am not going to sleep my holiday away there.
I do. When we go when we go away, I sleep in. I sleep in. Like the thing that I miss at this point, I'd be like, I would pay for vitamin D. Like sun to skin, getting warm. That would be what happiness is for me.
So that would be like a sauna with
To
red.
share, if you could go downstairs and
Infrared
like
light.
do a sauna for me today, that would be
I
like
could.
so super great. That would
I
be
could.
okay. I thought it was really fascinating, this little study that they talked about the nuns. Because if you want to talk about a controlled environment, hello, very controlled environment. Like even more than my twin experiment that's ongoing, right? Like super controlled environment. And for those of you who maybe don't have the book or haven't read or heard, they're talking about the nuns who expressed more positive emotion in their writing, so their journals that they were tracking, the ones that expressed more positive emotion lived on average 9.4 years longer than the nuns in the bottom 25% who expressed the least amount of positive emotion. Isn't that fascinating?
And the other piece of that's fascinating is the age range when they went in, that their environment became that, and it's all a choice, right? Every one of those nuns chose that environment, chose that lifestyle, and this was a 60 years.
Yeah.
Like this wasn't a 10-year experiment. That like this is reviewing 60 years of 180 nuns in the same environment.
Yep. So fascinating. I'm just fascinated that somebody was able to pay attention for that long to track.
So what I really love about this, really, really love about this, is we talk about the 5 people you spend the most time with. We talk about your circle of friends. We talk about what comes to you. And it made me start thinking then about, so do I feel more positive emotion when I'm spending time with people who are expressing more positive emotion, who are thinking about new things, who are talking about new ideas? And it made me really connect that realization of managing who I spend my time with matters. It matters to how long I'm going to live, because it matters to that positive emotion bank that I'm building.
Yeah. I feel like I have so many more questions about this nun study. Like, I want to know if those people that lived, like the longer ones, are the ones that journaled gratitude more. I want to know if they had a little like, did they spend more time together in that group? And the people who were the bottom 25%, did they like kind of like, were they in a different, or did they all intermingle it equally? Right? Like, I have questions. It's fascinating. Totally fascinating. And the other thing that made me think about as I was reading this, I was going, okay, so if positive emotion is that impactful, what if we chose positive emotion during stressful scenarios or in stressor situations, right? I'll use Janelle as an example. You're welcome. She is learning the tech stuff at church, and she admittedly is not a technical person, although we're trying to change that verbiage because she's becoming very techie. She's becoming very techie. And I know how she thinks. So I'm going to bet that this is exactly how she approached this. Is, okay, slightly stressful situation, especially since our tech director is not there. And so she's like, I'm going to go in to do this. And so she could like, do you see how this could spiral into being very, very stressful? I mean, like, oh my gosh, this is all sitting on me. And what if I don't remember this? And I'm going to have to ask this person, I'm going to spend all this time, and then I'm not going to be able to be at home, and I'm not going to be able to, But I know Janelle, and she's probably like, no, everything is figure outable. It's totally fine. And so changing the entire shape of a stressful situation simply by how you're choosing to think and what thought patterns you're choosing completely changes all of it.
So if it's okay to continue using your examples, no. That was perfect, because if you listen back, all the stressful messaging that Janelle Phillips was expressing included I statements. I'll be embarrassed. I'll be uncomfortable. All the things she said. And if you listen back to the recording, you will notice. You'll also notice that when she was referring to the need to learn the tech, it was actually about other people and other people's benefit from the tech being available. And that is such a valuable piece of understanding where that anxiety comes from, and your capability, your capacity to choose where your focus is to actually move the needle to a place of more joy.
So I'm sure that no one else has a stressful situation that they could possibly think of in their lives, because we're all incredibly calm. Yes, Linda.
I have one coming up.
Okay.
Dennis is having his hip surgery on Friday
Oh,
and he is so excited about it. He is so looking forward to it because he's been in such pain and that. So I'm thinking, okay, I need to stop worrying and be excited for him too. Yeah.
Yeah. And you need to, or you want to, or you get to.
Get to.
well, and you know what? At this point, it may be a need. You may actually be like, I need to get a hold of my emotions on this.
Mhm.
Or here's where they're going to take me.
Yeah.
Or if I choose to lean to the positive, I know where this is going to go. Yes, Amy.
Self-coaching piece too is like, Linda, finding your person who you can actually talk through all of the, like, why aren't you excited for him? And what's going on in your head? And part of that is the unknown, right? Like, I don't know how to support him once he's done that, because as somebody who has been on my father-in-law got hip replacements, they will not tell you anything about what happens on aftercare until you're there, because you shouldn't worry about that till you actually need it. Excuse me, I live in the middle of nowhere. I need to plan. I can't just, you're not telling me isn't helping me. It is stressing me out. So
See, it helps that he had double knee surgeries 5 years ago. So I do know a little bit, and it's supposed to be easier, they say. So
Yeah. My girlfriend did both hip and knee, and she said the hip was easier. Her
Yeah.
problem with her hip was that the knee hadn't been done yet first. And she now wishes that it had been the other way around. So yeah. That's good knowledge.
Yeah,
Well,
and I've got my daughter coming to spend the day with me, so it will be good, but you can't help but worry.
and knowing where your personal stress points are. Like you say, having her there for the day. That's fabulous. Finding out that my daughter, who we were taking on a ski trip, suddenly didn't want to go on a ski trip. Didn't want to participate, didn't want to nothing. She did her section of lesson, she was done. No, wait, what? I don't even want to go on a lift because I don't like heights.
It's a Saskatchewan lift. It's not that tall.
But I'm like, would this child be better if I wasn't there at all? Would there be no one there to push her because I wasn't there? Would she have been better if I had also rented skis and like, we paid for this, we're going? Or was it actually best that I was on foot and I walked up and down the little bunny hill on my shoes?
Sharon's like, how could you be on a hill without skis on your feet?
I know, I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought of you the whole day.
For future reference, you should definitely just leave her to her lesson and be like, bye. And she'll be fine.
Actually, I did leave her in her lesson for that part, but then
Yeah.
when she was done her lesson and couldn't go on the lift because she didn't pass it, she came into the chalet and wasn't going to go back up.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's a little sad.
She found you. See, you just need to hide
Yeah.
better.
She had a friend who turned in her skis and didn't go back out. So like, you
Yeah.
get all those pieces.
But here's the thing. If you hadn't, I love that you went. Like I love that you went. And then you just go, okay, supportive parent or stressed out parent. Not really sure, because now if I would have just stayed at home and waited until you told me when we got home, I would have been mad for like 5 seconds. We would have been done with it, instead of me being angry with you for the whole day because, like, come on. That would
I
have been.
didn't. And I was trying to like not spiral down the negative. And like, learning and progression is a process. And being able to have those, what was the best part of the days? And
Mhm.
as they go in the book and they talk about perspective, like, let's review the whole instead of the tiny. Each one of them said that the funniest part of their day was when they fell.
Of course.
So that made it the best part when you fall. Except nobody wants to fall. So that's like, when we fail, we need to find the funny and the best part of failing, because that will be our next leap of growth.
Mm-hmm.
But the really cool piece about the girl that was afraid of heights, after her mom walked her through, walked her up and down, walked with her, she fell into her second lesson just because they happened to be there, got the little sticker that let her go on the lift. Can you imagine what her best part of the day was? Going up the lift. We don't know what we don't know.
Right? We really don't. Now, since we're talking about teenagers here, and they just seem to be a wealth of examples. In the middle of page 120, it says, they're talking about people having the belief that your happiness is dependent on success. They mistakenly believe that if they only had X, they would finally be happy. If I get a promotion, if I finally get married, if I get my dream home, if I make my business successful, then I'll really be happy. Teenagers have their whole lives ahead of them, and they've just encountered the realization of all of the things available to them. It's no longer, if there's the right cereal in the cupboard in the morning, I'll be happy. Right? Like, that's my 11-year-old. I came home with like good cereal for the week. Like, I mean, it's not going to last the week. Let's be honest, because now they're all excited. They've all asked me if I'm dying because I bring good cereal in. And they're like, what's happening? Who's dying? Are you okay? Is it fine? Yeah. Our new pastor snuck a box of Pop-Tarts into my daughter's jacket. And I was like, if I brought those home, they'd be like, we need to have a serious conversation, Mom. Like, what's wrong? But that's the 11-year-old, right? Like, if there's good cereal in the cupboard, it's a good day, right? And my teenager's like, okay, if I just could go back to sleep for a little while longer, if my mom just wouldn't ask me about the dishes in my room, I would just be happier. If I could go buy that new pair of shoes, I would just be happier. If I could just.
If I was in the sunshine, I'd be happier. If I was in Punta Cana,
Actually, there is actually scientific information on the sunshine piece. I will say that I'm throwing the vitamin D in my cup. I'm actually not that sad to be here with all of you this morning. It is just interesting, right? How we tend to move the needle on that. And I think that maybe that is more the issue rather than Can you be happy in what you're working on right now? Can you be happy in the process? Can you allow yourself to feel gratification for the steps that you're making and the lengths that you've gone? Or do we constantly move the needle? Right? That's why it's so important to A, know your why, but B, we've talked about this. What's your definition of success? How are you going to know when it's time to celebrate? Janelle just got a customer back this week who had quit. And I'm like, hello, measure of success. That's fantastic right there. Like, I don't know. There's not a whole lot of better feelings than somebody. And actually, I have somebody that I'm working with too that's coming back. They're like, I just felt so much better. And you're like, yes, I'm so glad that you figured it out.
I think the next page where this gets into the power of negative emotion. I mean, when we all think about it, we know we feel better, we make better decisions when we feel good. When we feel good, we're able to be more creative, we're able to collaborate more effectively. And what it really is better. This power of negative emotion and the impact of, and they talk about it here, teams at the bottom of page 121. Teams in particular can become gridlocked and less productive when the ratio falls below 3 positives to 1 negative. So if you think about a team situation, a team collaboration, a family collaboration, more than one person starts saying, why not? Or bringing up the negative pieces. You know, we've got this great idea to go somewhere and do something. Oh, but I'm tired. Oh, but I don't really want, I want to sleep. The impact it has on the energy of the group is phenomenal.
Well, and so let's put some skin on this for a second. Talking with my friend who's a professional counselor about depression in teens and suicidal thoughts. And she said, it's very interesting how when you have one kid who is talking about that, it goes through their friend group like wildfire. And her observation was, if you have 1 or 2 kids that are talking about it, you're going to have a whole lot more of them that are experiencing it, because now it's being brought up and it's bringing everybody down.
And they talk about it here, about disengaging, the kids that disengage. Yes, Janelle, go ahead.
I wanted to mention too, like on Facebook, I had joined different groups on like lymphedema and thyroid issues and stuff. I actually had to like leave a bunch of the groups because they just got so negative that it really just wrecked my day. And I was like, why am I in these groups? I thought I'd make these connections and stuff, but it was just, those negatives really outweighed the benefit of the connections and learning. And it was like, okay, no.
That's exactly what I found, Janelle, in an osteoporosis group I joined. It's like,
But
there's nothing here. And it didn't matter what I interjected. It wasn't enough. It was very interesting.
But isn't it fascinating though, that then when we offer Plexus to people and we talk about our community, and yes, we're going to give them something that's going to give them more energy. They're going to sleep better, like all of those things. But the question of the day is, how much healing does a positive community bring to one's health versus the actual product? Like, yeah, you're feeling better, but now all of a sudden you're around people who are all looking to be better, who are all looking for the positive, who are all like, you have someone walking with you who is not, I hope, bringing you down, right? Yeah, your day really does suck. Although, you know, you do sometimes need somebody to commiserate with. Yeah, that's a crappy day. So sorry for that.
I think there's value too in recognizing that when that person tries to climb out of their negative space into a more positive place, it's like crabs trying to climb out of the bucket.
Oh,
There's somebody pulling them back. And so for us who are working to uplift someone, support them, that recognition that they're feeling pulled from both sides and they don't know where to place, where to choose their thinking. And it's very easy to go back to thinking the way they did, the way that's comfortable, the way that people that are around them all the time are messaging them.
you can either have community, but it's negative, or you can be relatively alone in the positive while you're transitioning into that next space.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Very interesting. And you know, it actually reminds me of Cody Helmer. If you guys are interested, I'd encourage you, go on YouTube, look up Cody, Kodie Helmer, Helmer. And she has a video that she shares very candidly about how when she decided to change her life with Plexus, she had to completely cut off whole groups of people from her life. And not like, I'm not going to talk to you if we're at a family reunion.
Yeah.
But like, I cannot see you in my feed every day. I actually have to unfriend and block you because you are pulling me back. You are the crab pulling me back down into the bucket. And that's hard to do. It also makes me think about, you know, my husband and law enforcement. And you just think, if it's supposed to be how many positives, you know, 3-to-1 positive to negative emotion ratio, you just think, oh my gosh, their offices should be filled with puppies and balloons and like, you just, poor people.
Well, I think it really speaks to those of you with younger children, that positive emotional bank that you can build for them while they're at home, while you have more influence in their circle. Because as they move away into other circles, they have to start deciding which circles are right for them, which circles fill their cup, and so often, and I know it's because of who we are, we're wanting to help others. That's what our kids want to do too. And when they want to help others, what happens? They go to the person that's asking for energy, asking for support, asking, which is likely people who do not have a full emotional bank account. And it often then leads them, with all good intentions, into a space where they're giving more than they're receiving. Yes, Sharon, do you have something to add? I feel like your hand was up. I'm hoping your hand was up.
It's like, I can add something, but I wasn't actually thinking about anything.
I tried.
You tried. I did find that very fascinating, though, that you can actually build up that emotional bank account with your kids, and that people that had more of that positive deposits in their bank account when they were younger, it actually carried them forward, which I would not necessarily, I mean, yes, black and white, if you had a positive childhood, you're probably going to come into adulthood in a different way. Like that I understand. But to actually think about it in terms of more positive deposits and how much further ahead it actually made you, it's really, really interesting.
Yes, Sharon.
Now Sharon's gonna talk.
I do have something to say. I was just developing here, but I know like something that we've done that I've really tried to teach my kids so far this last year is training your brain to focus on the positive. So I noticed last summer, the beginning of last summer, there was a lot of complaining going on in my house, and I had it, right? So I said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to practice some gratefulness, family. Every night at supper, everyone is going to tell me something that they're grateful for each day. And there's rules around it. You can't say the same thing each week or like every day. You cannot repeat it that week. And it was very interesting because it quickly became like because they're kids, right? So it's easy to train their brains. Well, I would say within 2 weeks, they were looking for, like, throughout the day, they were naming things that they were grateful for. Maybe this will be my thing today, Mom. Maybe this will be my thing. Maybe this will be my thing. Right. And it's the training your brain to also look for those things to be grateful for, right? It's practicing. And even for us adults, it's practicing that mindfulness when you go through really stressful situations, right? It's stopping to remember that, hey, that warm water in my shower, that feels really good, right? The coffee in my cup is good. It's nice that my friend sent me that text. That's good. The sun is shining. That's good, right? I like the cushions on my couch. That's good, right? And I think those positives, they don't necessarily come to us, right? Unless we start looking for them. And then when you look for them, they're everywhere, right? It's very easy to have that 3-to-1 ratio. Yeah.
I really loved it. One of my daughter-in-laws does this with her kids every night. When she says goodnight to them, she asks them, tell me 3 things that you were grateful for today. And what one thing are you most looking forward to for tomorrow? And those are the last things she says to them as they're laying in bed to go to sleep. So one of them was at my house to sleep, and they're like, Grandma, you got to ask the questions. I'm like, what questions? So I learned about the questions. And it was that realization of exactly as you said, Sharon, it's the brain training, it's the mind training to focus on the good things. And like Amy says in the chat, what you focus on expands.
Anybody just
As
all of a sudden
adults-
wish that they could go back to like 3 and 4-year-olds for just a breath to like start implementing that? Not for all the other things, but just like.
Yeah. As adults, we can even take it further because like you said, Sharon, there's rules. You can't repeat the same thing every night at supper. Dr. Paul, he's got an incredible YouTube channel, Live on Purpose. I've probably mentioned it before. He talks about the gratitude challenge where you choose something that's really hard, like a really hard experience, and you find what you're grateful for within that experience or from that experience. Yes, Sharon.
It is interesting too when you train your brain to do that, right? My youngest, like, she's little, you guys, she's only 6, but she said, Mom, have you ever noticed that sometimes when something seems really bad, it's actually a good thing that happened, and lots of good things come. And like, she's little, you guys, but her brain is already going in that way because that's how I talk and that's what I do. And yes, it's sad that we couldn't go, skiing today, but we had a great time at home. We had a movie night. We got to go on a walk as a family, and the sun was shining, and whatever, right? We're all trainable, all of us, right? It doesn't matter how bad it's been before, what you're going through, you're trainable, right? Even now. Yeah.
Even now.
So I want to throw out actually a challenge to all of us. I think that this would be a really great thing. And I think that it would be a huge blessing for your community that watches you. I was just thinking, I was like, I should have like a specific notebook beside my bed to be able to write down, 3 things that I'm grateful for at the end of every day. Well, what if at the end of every day, before we shut down our phones, just on a black screen, we wrote 3 things that we're grateful for. And if you need to like dress them up so that people don't actually know what you're talking about, you can make them more vague. But I noticed that when I practice gratitude on my social, because I've done these types of things before, that it changes things in just the sphere of what I'm seeing, of other people's interactions, those types of things. So I think perhaps I need to get back on the gratitude bandwagon on purpose out loud.
Mm.
And I'm going to say this because this has been something that I've been struggling with whether or not I want to make a reel on it, because I don't want to like call anybody out, because I think that people are called to their convictions differently. But same as me, I'm called to my convictions differently than other people are. And we're in the season of Lent, right? How many people talk about giving up social media for Lent or whatever? And I'm just like, okay, we could do that. Or we could give up mindless scrolling and we could be intentional, where we have a billboard for a whole bunch of people to see us. It's like people coming to your door and asking you how you are. Like, you don't get people that do that unless it's Halloween, and then they're not actually asking you how you are. They're just asking you for food. What if it wasn't, I'm giving up social media for Lent? Maybe it's, I'm giving up undisciplined behavior on social media for Lent, and I'm only going on social media with purpose. It's crazy. And then I think, when I see this, it needs to not trigger me into negative emotion. It needs to push me into prayer for the individuals. Because I do have a female friend who does this often. And they keep on posting and then talk about how awful social media is. And I'm like, I feel like we're missing the boat on this. So let's maybe commit to, for the remainder of our book, maybe we'll start with one day at a time, sweet Jesus, a gratitude challenge, gratitude challenge. And what would be really interesting is if a person made a highlight of it on their Instagram and saved their gratitude to their highlight.
Okay, we might need the techie part of this.
We might. Yes. Jill's like, yes, please. Yeah, we can talk about that. Monday morning minute. Let me just make a note.
Yes, the techie part of adding to the highlight bubble.
It's actually not as hard as you think that it would be. MIN.
Oh,
we
I just know how many months I didn't know how to do it. So I'm,
we can do this. We can do it. Here's your challenge for today. Take a picture that you would like to have as your cover photo for your gratitude highlight bubble and put that in your stories. You don't need to put anything on it if you don't want to. Just take a picture and then we will create that as your cover for your gratitude highlight bubble.
So I'm all about the tech because I'm now dived into how. Just putting it in stories, but do we also have to save it the day that it's in the stories? See, there's more to this. Okay, I'm good. That's all I needed to know.
No, I could go back and add to like my Arizona highlight bubble that I did in 2019. I need one of those things where you can see my screen while I'm working on it.
You can on Zoom. On Zoom, you can do a screen share on your phone.
Okay, I feel like we're deviating from the purpose this morning.
That's exactly what I was
Hey,
gonna say. Can we
so-
have the technical help with that a little bit later? But the book still has some action items.
Yes.
Yes, and I love the questions in here too.
But I think on page 127, and it leads right into the questions, if that's okay. It
Yeah.
talks about keys to building positive emotions is to know what brings you joy and then be disciplined about making sure you have it every day. So I would really like to just ask people on the screen today, what would you choose that brings you joy today? Amy, yeah, go ahead. You guys have to unmute. And then Janelle.
Well, I was going to say Janelle first because my thing takes a minute. I liked the sunrise, but we're coming to summer and I don't want to see the sunrise every morning.
That does not bring me joy. Got it. Janelle.
My daughter's home from college for the week. And so after corporate book club, I'm going to be spending the day hanging out with her. And then my married son and daughter are coming home tonight.
Beautiful.
Are you
Hopefully
all
they
going
par-
to visit your grandparents tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great.
Okay.
Big happy
Awesome. Who else? Amy's daughter's coming home too, but she didn't get that on her joy list too yet.
We won't tell Catherine.
Linda.
I was happy this morning when I got up for a bathroom break about 4 or stop about 4:30. Dennis has wood by the fireplace. So I keep the wood stove going. So the house is nice and warm when I get up and later on in the morning.
Good job. You started your gratitude early this morning.
Mhm. My gratitude is I don't need to leave the house. Sorry. I know it's like, it's a shock that people are like, you're a homebody. Yes, very much so. And my son wants me to go out and buy like the Costco like movie tickets so that he and a whole bunch of buddies can go out to a movie. And I'm like, Costco on a Saturday. I don't know if I love you that much. I'm not sure. Does not bring me joy. He might be coming with me, but there's also a worship night tonight that I could go to. But
I don't see joy on your face with that yet.
I have to leave the house. I have to get some more positive thoughts around that if I'm actually going to go. But like honestly, not leaving my house is like the greatest thing, especially in basketball season. But see, Costco's on your list, but you work, and I work during, this is that brings me joy, is that I don't have to go to Costco on a Saturday. That brings me joy. It's when people, yeah. I had to hang with my kids today. That brings me like immense joy. There was a time in my life that wouldn't have.
Sharon?
Well, no, I think today, we haven't even planned our day yet. We got back from Calgary late last night after a whirlwind, very quick trip, one day there, one day back. So we're going, oh, okay. But we're just looking forward to hanging out today. Maybe we'll go skiing this afternoon and go on the lift, which is also my kids' favorite part, is like the gondola up. They're like, oh, it's the best.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, we might go do that this afternoon because we live very, very close to a ski hill. We might go on a walk because it's pretty nice outside. Gonna do some laundry, get the house organized, plan a birthday party. A catch-up day is bringing me joy.
Honestly, like I'm watching Janelle's cat in the frame, and I'm like, like that break. I'm sure that doesn't look like it's bringing you joy. My dog is sleeping on my floor right beside me in my office and choosing to be here with me. I cannot even tell you, like, the amount of joy that this animal brings me is absolutely ridiculous. I never thought that I would be one of those people. But the fact that he chooses to spend time with me and come hang out in my office when he could go lay on his bed brings me like a stupid amount of joy. What doesn't bring me joy is when he howls at like 3 a.m. beside my bed. That does not bring me joy. Out. Oh dear, the cat's trying to eat the papers on her desk. No, that would not bring me joy. I really appreciate how, I don't know, I love this woman. Could you, Sherry, if you actually tell her, just be like, there's somebody who just loves you.
I'm all about posting on social media now and tagging her in
Right?
advance of when I see her in 2 weeks.
Right? I just appreciate the format of the book. Like now we've got a little space in on page 129 that says every woman should know. Well, you're sure shooting, I'm going to pay attention to that portion. Like every woman should know. Positive emotions can overcome the effects of negative emotions. By engaging in more positives, you can reverse the results of negative experiences. Never make an important decision when you're upset, tired, or depressed. Negative emotion narrows your scope. And I want to talk about that for a second. Chronic unhappiness can impact your longevity as much as smoking cigarettes every day, cutting as much as 6 years from your life. Now, as I was reflecting on purchasing our house, we've been here for a year now. Isn't that crazy? We've been here for a year. Trisha Brady was like, already? And I'm like, that's kind of like saying to a pregnant person, wow, that went fast. But this did go fast. Anyway, we ended up with a house baby. It's fine. But it's just looking at situations where we're under irregular stressors and understanding the importance of having a more outside removed person to ask questions and to advocate for what you may not think of. And it's because she talks about this whole negative emotion narrows your scope of thinking, right? For example, in my other house were my washer and dryer. You need to understand, my washer and dryer have a special place in my heart. They are massive. They are next to industrial sized. We purchased them, and my husband said to me, well, before we purchased them, he said, so would a larger washer and dryer really make that much impact on your life? He says to the mother of 4 children under 6. I was like, yes, it would. And the amount of joy that it would bring me when we would come home from camping for a week and being able to be caught up on laundry in like 4 loads. Yes, it would. Come on, right? So he purchased these huge capacity washer and dryer for me. As we were doing the dealing, there's a washer and dryer in this house. They looked fine. So we did not exempt my washer and dryer out of our contract to make it easier, right? Had I had, and here's the thing, I would like an advocate that is me. Could I duplicate myself into an advocate for myself for later and be like, no, it doesn't matter that you think that that washer and dryer there might be okay. You want your washer and dryer, and you need to do whatever you can to get your washer and dryer out of that house and into this one, because that's a hill to die on. And I didn't. And so I wish that through that whole stressor situation, I had an advocate that was talking to me about these things that were really important. Same thing, Linda, for example, when you're going through hip surgery with Dennis, you are going to be able to advocate to an extent, but if something like you may need an outside advocate, so you have your daughter cut, it is so important to have that outside person that you choose to loop in when it's big things. The more of these situations I encounter, the more I'm like, man, we need advocacy. There is a place in our lives for like a personal advocate. I don't know. Yes, I have not gotten over my washer and dryer yet. I did bring my refrigerator though. What?
Yes, that's actually like, but it requires you to do that assessment when you're in a good place. So like that, review the positive things, like review all those things with somebody, because if you've never had the thought process of what do I love about this house? What do I love about a future house? It's a washer and dryer. Move on. Excuse me. I'll pick a dishwasher. You start, you move. Okay, now this place has a space for a dishwasher. It will be okay. Dishwasher quits. Oh, honey, we don't need one right away. No, we will not go 2 days. You're going to go out. We're going to find one. But I have rules on my dishwasher. I want a large tub, and I want the racks to fit a cookie sheet. And at that point, those are my rules. And yes, I'm willing to wash dishes for 2 more days just to get what I want.
Yeah.
But the thought process on what's important before, and I'm going to pick my kitchen table. There's a perfectly fine kitchen table in this house. Yes, we moved in 4 years ago. My kitchen table is in my townhouse, and I'm okay with what we've got right now because I know it's still coming. It's coming. It'll all work out. God's got the plan. I don't need to even know the timeline. It's going to happen. But my kitchen table is going in my kitchen when it moves.
You know, Amy, that is a very interesting thought, because I think you think like, what would make a difference in my life today? And you think, how hard would it actually be to move that table from there to here? That would make today a really good day. So you can put that in your back pocket on one of those days where you're like, today is just not a good day. And you'd be like, what one thing could I do to make today an exceptionally good day? And you'd be like, I'm moving my table. I'm moving my table.
Yeah.
Darn straight.
That's why finding a joy item is important. And I love that her first question is, what makes you laugh? Who makes you laugh?
We started this
Glad-
out by laughing this morning, and I think that that's one of the greatest things.
Because I'm not a need to laugh. I'm not a blue personality. But the reality is everything is better when I've had a chance to laugh. Sorry, Sharon.
Sharon.
Well, I know it's interesting for me because I think it's the balance of not being judgmental of our own thoughts, because it's as well, we're like, well, it's just material things. It doesn't like make you happy or guarantee, but it does a little bit. And that's okay, right? Because there's also a bunch of studies that prove, like, say, the environment that you live in, right, dramatically affects your happiness, right? And I know, okay, so when Ben and I were first married, we lived in like a dingy apartment that really was functioning as a crack house and a brothel. That's not an exaggeration. At the little apartment across from ours, it was awful in downtown Vernon. And we ended up going and moving to a basement suite about 10 minutes out of town, mostly up the mountain, with really nice old people, right? And it was beautiful and cute and whatever. Our happiness went dramatically up by changing our environment, right? I think, I don't know. I just think material things sometimes, honestly, because I don't go out and buy like new shoes all the time, right? But when I get a really, really, really good pair of shoes, better believe that makes me happy. Like, we're talking years later, I look at my shoes and I'm like, ooh, I should go out and wear my shoes, right? So we need to not judge that, I think, like, and not devalue that. Because I know, like, in the one exercise, like, you were supposed to write down, the last question was, think back to a moment when you were filled with positive emotion. What happened? Let me tell you, like, it's what I thought of. I'm like, my goodness, most of these things, all of my happiness isn't tied up in it. A lot of them, they were just little things. And then we ate really good food, and then we got to go shopping, and
There was cheese.
then, there was cheese. Right. I think it's interesting. It's that balance of seeing the positive and not judging what brought us a little bit of joy that day, and also realizing that everything doesn't need to be good before we're allowed to feel joy, right? Because that's not the case, right?
Yeah. Totally agree. What a wonderful conversation this morning, ladies. I so value this time. If you hadn't had a chance to reflect on those questions, I'd encourage you to do that. I'll take a picture and put them into the chat so that if anyone doesn't have the book, you can take a look at them. But we're gonna hard cut off now so we can all run to the bathroom quickly and then hop on for Plexus Book Club if that's the direction that you're going. So thank you so much for this. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye.